the series. So a lot of the credit in this particular video is going to go back to the Apple workbook for Swift. And after the attribution, next thing is to just tell us exactly what this is. This is a piece of code and a user interface, right? And the whole idea is we've just created a box here, and this is supposed to have the box on the screen, the iPhone screen, just pop up, nothing special there. So, and once I build this, of course the box I'm talking about, like some kind of black viewer box, shows up. But then let's go back to the code. So this is a property line, right? And you have a variable. This is a variable name. Now it is the case that sometimes you want to change the variable name. There are two reasons why sometimes programmers want to change variable names. One of them might be because you've thought of a more descriptive variable name that you think might be better, and you want to replace it with what you already have, or because you have some spelling mistakes in the variable name that you already have and you want to make that correction. So ordinarily, one way to do that is to just dive into your code, and I've clicked color view. That's what I want to change, and you can see some kind of light highlight of color view here. So my first instinct is to make the change here, and also make the change here and any other place where it occurs. So let's assume, for example, for the illustration purposes, that I want to change color view to color box, right? So box, I've made the changes. So next thing that's going to happen, I also want to make the changes in the view here. You see it's already giving me the error message. So I've made the changes here because so the changes have been made. But then I want to run this code. All of a sudden there is an error. It doesn't run properly as it should. And why doesn't it run properly as it should? Here's your debug window. You can go check out your debug window. But what we found with this debug window is you read through the line of code, it doesn't really tell you anything about why you are getting this error. And this is a pretty common error for a lot of folks that develop applications with Swift. So what you want to do is the goal of the video is literally to actually show you exactly what's happening, since it's a common error. So I want to go show my project navigator again, and then I'm going to scroll back in the arrow so that I get back to where I was before. So my first goal right now is to find the connections inspector, because this is actually a problem with the connections, or rather something that has to do with the interface builder. Because what happens when you're running these codes is usually you have the code here, and the code is pointing to, say, the viewer box, right? There's that connection between this and the code. And whenever you want to run your code, what happens is Swift begins to automatically look for those connections, so that it pulls whatever you have here and displays it on that screen. And once that connection is severed, you automatically begin to get errors. So what we want to do in this particular case, because of the changes we've made and the errors we have seen, is to actually go look for a connections inspector. So you go click here so that we can see the inspector. So once we get to the inspector, this is what you have here. You want to come click here. This is how you get to the connections inspector. You click the connections inspector, and you can see this is what's supposed to be. As you can see, it's being highlighted. I click over this. This is actually supposed to connect you to what you have on your screen, but then it's saying I have color view here, which is when you highlight this, but then for the code, the color view is gone, it's changed. So there's a disconnection between this and this because the system can't see this anymore. That's why it says the view controller does not have an outlet called color view. So this is your outlet. So an outlet called color view doesn't exist anymore. So the way to fix this is to click and remove the color view, right, and figure out a way to get your color box in sync with your screen. So which is literally making a color box matches with a color box, because color view exists here right now but color view doesn't exist here, and that's why we're getting the error. So what we're going to do first is create that disconnect. We've disconnected it. So color view, so there's no connection between the user interface and your code line anymore. So to now create that connection, you want to go to color box and move to the circle that contains it here, and then draw that circle and make a connection with this. So you see immediately you made the connection. Now you have your color box and your color box, and now if you run your code, it's expected that everything should run okay. So that's what we have, and then it's all run okay. So but that's one way to do it, which is come into your code, change the variable names everywhere you want to do it, and then go to your connections inspector and make the changes. But that's a two-step method. A more a much easier method to handle an issue like this will be to use the next step I'm going to show you now. So that step involves, first of all, clicking your control button and clicking on whatever your variable name is, right? So I click my color box here, and then notice what happens. It opens up this window, and then you click refactor, click rename, and then it takes you somewhere here. So the next thing you want to do here is you can rename, make the changes. Now I'm assuming that I'm changing back to color view, right? So I come in here, and you see as I'm changing, every other instance of color view is changing. We only have two of them here, so I can go to color view, and then I'll click rename, and that automatically renames everything. Now look at the connections inspector and see what's happening. Color view, color view. Remember it was color box, color box. Now it's changed back to color view, color view. I can now run the code again because it's just a one-step process, and boom, our build has been successful. So that's how you deal with this specific issue. Thank you again for watching. I'll see you in the next video.